My blissful selves. Today, let us know something more about humanity. The aim of human life is to know one's real nature. That means we have to know that we are bliss. But the animals and the birds have no power to know what is happiness and what is unhappiness. To know what is self and non-self. But man has the power of reason to know what is happiness, what is unhappiness, what is self and non-self. But man doesn't use this power of reason. So man is inferior to animals. So if we have to experience permanent happiness, so human birth is absolutely necessary. That is how human birth is more precious than the animals, birds, etc. But he has not been in a position to make use of it. And he has spoiled the human birth in vain. But man has three states, that is mundane waking, dream and deep sleep. But the gods and goddesses have only one state, that is the mundane waking state. The animals have also three states, that is mundane waking, dream and deep sleep. If the gods and goddesses, if they try to know how to get the permanent happiness, their eyes become blind. The gods and goddesses know only how to do virtuous actions and to enjoy the heavenly pleasures. When the fruit of virtuous actions is exhausted, man has to take birth in the mortal world. Even in heaven, there is no happiness, there is unhappiness. In heaven, one thinks that if one had done much more virtuous actions, he might have been in a position to get greater position. And he worries if the fruits of virtuous actions would be exhausted, what to do? And also he worries what type of birth he would get in the mortal world. Like this, even in heaven, there is no happiness at all. And by these three states, man has been in a position to know that the waking state is of the nature of unhappiness. So no one is happy in the waking state. Even by dream, he can know that the mundane state is like a dream. and the mundane waking is false. By deep sleep, man can know that one's real nature is happiness. In deep sleep, one remains as consciousness by forgetfulness. So there is nothing except consciousness. And there is happiness. That means man's real nature is happiness. But this cannot be known by birds and the animals, demons, or any other living being except man. In deep sleep, one explains his experience that one knows that there is nobody in deep sleep. If there is in deep sleep or not, no, nobody is there in deep sleep. Like that one knows. And one says that one didn't know anything in deep sleep. And there is happiness. So all this has been known by us only. We know whether there is anybody or not in deep sleep. We know in deep sleep whether I can know anything or not. And deep sleep we know that there is happiness. That means in a deep sleep, I am the knower of all these. That is, in deep sleep, I remain as consciousness. And there is nothing other than consciousness. And there is happiness. That means our consciousness is only of the nature of happiness. So this clearly indicates that one is of the nature of happiness. But this cannot be known by any other living beings other than man. Even by gods and goddesses cannot know this. Usually, man thinks that there is happiness in sensory objects. But there is no happiness in sensory objects. As we go on enjoying the sensory objects, the desire to enjoy increases. Even the desire to enjoy the sensory objects cannot be satisfied. Even we enjoy the sensory objects till the last breath of our life. Even the desire to enjoy the sensory objects cannot be satisfied during enjoying the sensory objects in a ghostly life. The desire to enjoy the sensory objects cannot be satisfied when one enjoys the sensory objects for many lives. And man thinks that the gross body gives happiness. But the gross body gives unhappiness only. When there is gross body consciousness, there is hunger, there is thirst, cold, bright sunlight, there is sultriness, insult, disease, old age, the maximum desire to enjoy the sensory objects, and there is the fear of death. So in this way, even the gross body has not been in a position to give happiness to us. In the gross body consciousness, there is unhappiness only. But the birds and animals, have less desires to enjoy the sensory objects. So, in this way, man is inferior to the birds and the animals. The man concerned beats the animals by stones, he shoots them, and not only that, he has polluted the air, polluted the water, polluted the soil, and polluted the food. And not only that, he has invented the bombs to destroy the whole earth. In this way, he is inferior to animals. The animals don't shoot the living beings. They don't pollute water, air, soil, and food. They have not invented the bombs to destroy the whole earth. So, in this way, man is inferior to birds and animals. And the sensual enjoyment concerned ends in tiresomeness and weariness. But man thinks that there is happiness in the sensual enjoyment. If man wants to experience permanent happiness, he has to give up the desire of sensory objects to become happy. He has to give up the desire of a gross body to become permanently happy. And he has to transcend the gross body consciousness. In this way, so he has to, if at all he has to become permanently happy, he has to transcend the body, gross body consciousness, and he has to stand still in self-consciousness. Man herds the birds, the animals, human beings by axe, by sickle. The ghosts and the gods and goddesses have no idea that the happiness is in the self. So the birds and animals, they have to face only the natural calamities, earthquakes, storms, flood, etc. But man has been in a position to face the artificial calamities in addition to natural calamities. The artificial calamities have been produced by himself only. Man, he sprays the poisons to the crops to grow more food. He leads a very luxurious life and is infected by maximum number of diseases. But the birds and the animals lead a very simple life. They walk, they run, they jump, so that they do maximum exercise, and there will be very few number of diseases to the animals and birds. But man don't do exercise. He travels by bicycle, bike, car, truck, helicopter, and aeroplanes. So there will be maximum number of diseases to man, as there is no exercise at all to him. And not only that, he establishes factories. And the factories have been in a position to produce their effluents. And these effluents has been left in the water. And the water would be polluted. and the fishes, the other animals that have been present in the water, they drink the polluted water and they will be in a position to die. The whole earth can be burnt 10 times as he has invented the bombs. And a maximum number of bombs have been prepared by man. Usually, man will be in a position to grind the grains and whatever the nutrients, the salts, and vitamins that have been present in the grains will be burned. And he will be in a position to suffer by the deficiency diseases. So, whatever the poisons that have been spread, that have been sprinkled to the crops, so they pollute the water, the air, the soil, the food, and even the effluents of the factories. So they have been taken by the rivers to the seas, and this results in earthquake, storms, decrease in air pressure, like that. So the main aim of man is to experience permanent happiness. If at all man has to experience permanent happiness, so he has to give up the understanding that the sensory objects are givers of happiness. He has to transcend, he has to give up the desire that the gross body is in a position to give us permanent happiness. And if at all man has to experience permanent happiness, he has to transcend the gross body consciousness. And he has to stand still in his real nature, that is bliss. And he is the only man who has given up the desire of sensory objects, the desire of gross body, and one who has transcended the gross body consciousness and stand still in your own real nature, that is bliss. So to attain this, he has to inquire which is happiness, which is not happiness, like that. He has to listen firmly, clearly, and he has to meditate it. And lastly, he can have the knowledge of his real nature, that is permanent happiness. And this permanent happiness can be only attained by man. And the aim of man is to experience permanent happiness. Who has attained permanent happiness, he is the only man, he is the only real man. And to attain or to experience permanent happiness, so he has to observe the moral rules, and he has to attain dispassion for sensory objects. And lastly, he can realize that his own real nature is of the nature of bliss, and by standing still in it, he can experience permanent happiness. So, like this, if we understand who is the real man, and to become a real man, we have to observe morality, we have to attain dispassion, and lastly, the knowledge of our real nature, then only we can be liberated from all sorrow. So by this, I end my speech.